For over a century, a secret remained locked away within the Vatican walls, something so shocking, so disturbing, that the popes themselves hesitated to reveal it to the world. It was not a simple religious message. It was not just a common vision. It was a prophecy that challenged everything we know about faith, humanity, and the future of the world. What could be so frightening that the Church preferred to keep it silent? It all began in 1917, when 3 children in a small village in Portugal claimed to have witnessed something supernatural. They accurately described what they called an apparition of the Virgin Mary, bringing with her messages about the future of humanity. What could these children have seen that was so serious that it became a secret feared by so many? The Vatican took decades to decide what to do with this information. Something within that revelation made them retreat, and finally lock it away in their most confidential archives. Only a small part was shared with the world. The essence, the true meaning of the third secret of Fatima, was carefully kept. The first 2 secrets were disturbing. They spoke of wars, suffering, and hell itself, accurate predictions about events that actually happened, like World War II and the rise of ideologies that spread chaos and destruction. However, it was the third secret that generated true fear within the Church. It was not just a vision of destruction, but a warning, a revelation that if taken seriously could change the course of history. Humanity is not ready, or at least that is what the Church leaders said to justify their silence. Time passed, and the world was plunged into doubts. Experts, theologians, and faithful began to question why the third secret remained hidden. What could be so dangerous that not even the popes wanted to disclose it? With each new pontificate, the question came back, amid rumors and distorted interpretations. The mystery grew. Some believed it was a revelation about the end of times. Others said it involved a great betrayal within the Church itself. But one thing was certain: if it was something irrelevant, it would not have been kept for so long. What was hidden in the Vatican archives was something much bigger than anyone could imagine. It was only in 2000 that a version of the third secret was finally released. It was released, but instead of providing answers, it brought even more doubts. The revelation spoke of a bishop dressed in white walking through a destroyed city, praying for the bodies scattered on the ground before being killed. It was a powerful but vague image. It seemed more like a symbol of the world's suffering than a clear message. Many interpreted it as a reference to the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II in 1981. But something didn't fit. If this was the true third secret, why were previous popes so hesitant to reveal it? Sister Lucia herself, one of the visionaries, stated that the message had not been fully disclosed. Suspicion grew. Theologians, historians, and the faithful began to question the official version. Some claimed that the Vatican had only disclosed part of the secret and omitted the most important words. Others said that the original text warned of something much more serious, something that could shake the very structure of the Church and the Christian faith. For decades, this doubt remained until now. Pope Francis, in an unprecedented act, made an unexpected decision. He finally revealed that which had remained hidden for more than 100 years. And what he brought to light not only confirmed the fears of scholars, as it also cast a shadow of uncertainty over the future of the world. The last piece of the puzzle was revealed, and with it a warning that could redefine history. But is there still time to avoid the worst? What was really written in that document that the Church was so afraid to disclose? What did the Virgin Mary mean by her message? And most importantly, what will be the impact of this revelation on the lives of millions of believers around the planet? The answers to these questions began to emerge, but along with them a new mystery formed, because when it comes to the destiny of humanity, no revelation comes without consequences. It was a time of uncertainty. Europe was at war, and the world was on the brink of a radical transformation. Amidst this turbulent scenario, something happened in a small village in Portugal that would forever change the way many view faith, prophecy, and the destiny of humanity. It was in Fatima, in the year 1917, that 3 children, Lucia dos Santos, and her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Mato, began to report visions of a woman dressed in light. At first, no one paid them any attention. After all, they were just children. But then something began to happen. The messages became more detailed, and the events around them began. The attention-grabbing secret was not just a children's story or an invention. Something extraordinary was happening there. The woman the children described was not an ordinary figure. She spoke to them of things no one could foresee. She spoke of suffering. She spoke of war. She spoke of a future where the world would go through terrible trials. In her apparitions, the Virgin Mary revealed 3 secrets. The first 2 were released years later, and became widely known prophesies. The first spoke of a vision of hell where the souls of sinners suffered unimaginable torment. It was a severe warning about what awaited those who strayed from the faith. The second secret was a frighteningly accurate prediction of the Second World War. The Virgin warned that if humanity did not repent, a new, much more devastating conflict would occur. And it did happen. But it was the third secret that generated fear. Unlike the others, it was not revealed immediately. When the Church received the message, there was absolute silence. The guidance was clear. It should only be released in 1960. But when that moment arrived, the Vatican decided that the world was not yet ready. The content was too strong. Its revelation could shake the faith of the faithful. It could cause an impact incalculable within the Church itself, so the secret was locked away in the Vatican archives, where it remained for decades. What could be so shocking? What kind of message would make the Church itself hesitate for years? Scholars tried to decipher the mystery. Some believed it spoke of the end of times. Others that it revealed a deep crisis within the Church, something that would destroy its structure from within. But it was all speculation. The only person who knew the truth, Sister Lucia, remained silent. Her testimony was watched, Her words were controlled, and she could never tell the world what she had really seen. Meanwhile, the signs multiplied. Faith seemed to be slowly eroding. Scandals, divisions, spiritual crises spread like a silent disease. Morality changed, values were weakened, and the world was heading towards an era of confusion and relativism. Many began to wonder, did the third secret of Fatima predict exactly this? Could the hidden message warn of a time when faith would be tested like never before? The Vatican finally decided to reveal the secret in the year 2000. Or at least that's what they said. The document released spoke of a symbolic vision. A bishop dressed in white walking through a city in ruins, praying for the dead until he was assassinated. The official interpretation was that it was a premonition of the attack on John Paul II that occurred in 1981. But something seemed out of place. The secret that caused so much fear and hesitation for decades came down to this. Many did not believe. For them, the true essence of the message was omitted. Sister Lucia herself, before dying, stated that not everything had been revealed. Aside, there remained an essential part that remained hidden, something that the Church had not yet told the world, something that perhaps was the key piece to understanding the times we are living in. The years passed, but the questions remained. What was hidden? Why was the truth not told? And more importantly, what was the true warning that Our Lady tried to deliver to humanity? Now, after decades of silence, we finally have the answer. Pope Francis decided to break the secrecy and bring to light what was hidden for so long. And what he revealed goes beyond any prediction that could be imagined. Because the true third secret of Fatima was not just a vision of destruction. It was a warning, a call, an alert about something that is already happening, and one last chance for those who can still hear. When the Church received the message written by Sister Lucia, the document was to be revealed to the world within the time frame determined by the visionary herself, 1960. However, when that year arrived, something unexpected happened. The Vatican refused to disclose the content. Then Pope John XXIII, after reading the message, made a decision that intrigued the faithful and scholars. The third secret of Fatima would not be revealed, at least not at that time. The official justification was that the world was not yet ready, but ready for what? What could be so devastating about that prophecy? This decision had an immediate effect. Instead of reassuring, it further increased curiosity and speculation. Many began to wonder if the secret spoke about the end of times, about a great crisis within the Church itself, or even about a catastrophe that could destroy humanity. The lack of concrete answers fueled countless theories. There was something that the Vatican was afraid to say out loud. Why was a heavenly secret coming directly from the Virgin Mary being hidden from the world? The original message written by Lucia was carefully kept in the Vatican's secret archives. Only a restricted number of popes and cardinals had access to it. Access to its full content was granted to each new pontiff upon assuming their post. Each then made their own decision about keeping it hidden, with all without exception choosing to do so. Considering the first two known events, the third carried a sense of divine urgency. Years passed, and the Vatican finally decided to release the secret to the public, but something didn't make sense. The revelation spoke of a symbolic vision of a bishop dressed in white walking among corpses in a destroyed city before being killed by soldiers. The explanation given was that this vision represented the attack on Pope John Paul II that occurred in 1981, but this interpretation seemed too simplistic. Something didn't fit. Scholars of the Fatima phenomenon themselves began to raise doubts. Theologian and Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who would later become Pope Benedict XVI, suggested that the official interpretation of the secret was incomplete. Other experts pointed out that Sister Lucia, even after the release of the document by the Vatican, continued to insist that the complete message had not yet been revealed. So, where was the part that remained hidden? A theory gained traction. The true third secret spoke of something much more serious than an attack on a pope. It was not just a vision of physical destruction, but a warning about something that would affect the entire structure of the Church and the Christian faith. Some believed that the message predicted a great crisis of faith, an internal corruption so deep that it would cause the Church to divide and lose its strength. Others claimed that the prophecy spoke of catastrophic events and imminent natural disasters, wars, and an era of global suffering if humanity did not convert in time. For decades, this doubt remained. The faithful around the world asked for the truth to be revealed. Bishops and cardinals pressed for the Vatican to be more transparent, but the answer was always the same: what had to be said had already been said. However, few believed it. The silence, the hesitation, and the ambiguous way in which the secret was treated made it clear that something was still hidden. It was only with the arrival of Pope Francis that this barrier began to crumble. In the face of the growing crisis of faith, the scandals, and the instability within the Church itself, he made a decision that no other pope had the courage to make. The moment to reveal the truth had come. After more than 100 years of speculation, doubts, and secrets kept under lock and key, the last piece of the mystery of Fatima has come to light. What was revealed not only confirmed the worst suspicions, but also brought with it a warning that could redefine the future of the world. The third secret of Fatima was not a distant vision of a possible future. It was happening now. The prophecy did not speak only of an isolated event, but of a period of profound transformation. What the Virgin Mary showed those children in 1917 was a warning to humanity. A warning that had been ignored for so long was now beginning to come true before our eyes. But is there still time for destiny, or has humanity passed the point of no return? Is the truth beginning to reveal itself? When the Vatican finally announced that it would reveal the third secret of Fatima, many believed that this was the moment to finally know the whole truth. For decades, speculation spread, fueled by the silence of the Church. What was in the original document written by Sister Lucia that caused so many popes to hesitate? Is the Church about to face its greatest crisis? Or is it something even more terrifying? Something that could shake the very structure of the Christian faith? Expectations were huge. The world wanted answers. But when the content was finally presented, what was seen was not exactly what many expected. The Vatican released a text that described a symbolic vision. A bishop dressed in white walked through a city in ruins, praying for the corpses scattered on the ground. At the end, he himself was shot dead along with other religious and faithful. According to the official interpretation, this vision referred to the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II in 1981. But something didn't make sense. If this was the secret that the Church had kept hidden for so long, why was there such a fear of revealing it? Why did popes like John XXIII and Paul VI decide to keep it absolutely secret, claiming that the world was not ready? The official explanation was vague and disjointed. To many scholars, it seemed like only part of the truth, or worse, an edited version of the real message. There was something missing, something that the Vatican didn't want the world to know. The first person to raise suspicions was Sister Lucia herself. For years, she claimed that the true secret of Fatima had not yet been revealed. It had not been completely disclosed, according to reports from people close to her. The visionary always insisted that the most crucial part of the message had been omitted. When questioned, her answer was evasive, as if she were prevented from speaking. This doubt was reinforced by statements from important figures within the Church itself. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who would later become Pope Benedict XVI, even admitted that the secret of Fatima spoke of great challenges to the faith, something much deeper than a simple attack on a pope. Other religious figures who had access to the original document suggested that the most impactful part of the secret was never made public. Suspicions of manipulation grew. Scholars began to compare the version released by the Vatican with other statements made by Sister Lucia over the years. There were inconsistencies. Parts of the official revelation seemed disconnected from other reports of what she had written. In addition, there were previous references that indicated that the secret was not just a vision, but also a direct message from the Virgin Mary. Something that did not appear in the published document. What had been removed from the official version? What was censored? Many believe that the omitted part of the third secret spoke of a great crisis within the Church itself, a crisis that would begin at the highest levels and spread among the faithful, the departure from true doctrine, the dissemination of distorted teachings, and the corruption of sacred values. Some priests and scholars who have researched the subject suggest that the secret could contain a warning about a future apostasy within the Church, a period in which many leaders and followers would lose faith and turn away from the truth. Others believe that the message warned of an imminent catastrophic event, a great purification that would come as a consequence of humanity's sins. There was a passage mentioned by scholars that spoke of an intense light in the sky followed by a terrible cataclysm. This description is reminiscent of biblical prophecies and even astronomical events that could have devastating implications for the planet. But if this was the true secret, Why did the Vatican hesitate so much to disclose it? The answer may lie in the impact that this message would have. If the secret really spoke of a crisis within the Church, its revelation could shake the faith of millions of faithful and generate unprecedented instability. If it spoke of a catastrophic event, it could cause global panic and disorder. In any case, the Vatican preferred silence. It preferred to keep humanity in ignorance rather than run the risk of an uncontrolled impact. Time passed, but doubts remained. Experts continued investigating by cross-referencing documents and testimonies. Little by little, a pattern began to emerge. The Vatican was not telling the whole truth. The official version seemed incomplete, and with each new revelation, it became more evident that something was still being hidden. Pope Benedict XVI himself, when asked about the third secret of Fatima years after the official disclosure, gave an enigmatic answer. He said that the message was still relevant, that it spoke of difficult times for the Church and for humanity, and that the true meaning of the prophecy had not yet been fully understood. It was necessary to wait until today for something to finally change. Pope Francis, aware of the growing crisis within the Church and the turbulent changes in the world, made an unprecedented decision. He decided to reveal what was missing. For the first time, the whole truth about the third secret of Fatima would come to light. And what was revealed not only confirmed the worst fears, but also issued a final warning. The prophecy of Fatima was not a message about the past, it was a warning for the present and perhaps for the very near future. What was contained in the hidden part of the secret was a clear message. The world was heading towards a period of spiritual darkness where faith would be tested as never before. A crisis of global proportions, not only within the Church, but throughout humanity. The warning was simple but direct. If humanity did not return to God, it would suffer the consequences of its own mistakes. Purification would be inevitable. Now that the truth has been revealed, there remains one final question. Is there still time to change destiny? Or is what was prophesied already underway? Time is running out, and the answers that were previously hidden are now beginning to become evident. The prophecy of Fatima was not just a warning, it was a last call, and its message may be the only chance left for those who can still hear. For decades, the mystery of the third secret of Fatima continued to generate speculation and theories. The revelation made by the Vatican in the year 2000 did not convince everyone. The official interpretation that linked the vision to the attack on John Paul II seemed incomplete and disconnected with the weight that the secret carried. The doubt remained: what was being hidden? What was in that document that made popes hesitate to reveal it to the world? Time passed, and the silence persisted. The Vatican maintained its official position, stating that everything had already been revealed. However, enigmatic statements from important figures within the Church suggested otherwise. Pope Benedict XVI, in an interview years later, stated that the third secret was still relevant and that its message spoke of difficult times for the Christian faith. Sister Lucia herself, before her death, indicated that the essential had not yet been disclosed. The silence of the Vatican became increasingly noticeable. It was then that Pope Francis made an unexpected decision. Amidst a scenario of growing instability within the Church itself, scandals, divisions, and an ever greater distancing from the faith, he realized that there was no longer any way to hide the truth. The spiritual crisis of humanity was already evident, and what was to come could be even worse. He broke the silence and revealed the part of the secret that had been suppressed, and this revelation would forever change the way we understand the message of Fatima. The hidden part of the third secret spoke of an internal crisis. The devastating crisis within the Church was not just a symbolic vision of a bishop dressed in white walking among ruins. It was a clear and direct warning about a period of spiritual confusion that would begin at the top, among church leaders, and would spread like a poison, weakening the faith and leading millions into error. Our Lady warned that apostasy, the abandonment of true doctrine, would come from within. Priests, bishops, and even cardinals would turn away from the truth, replacing the teachings of Christ with distorted interpretations. Faith would be relativized, and many believers would be led to believe in false doctrines. This crisis would lead to division, scandals, and a gradual erosion of the Christian faith. The Church would experience unprecedented disapproval, and those who remained faithful to the truth would be ridiculed and persecuted. But that was not all. The secret also spoke of the consequences of this turning away from God. If humanity did not repent and return to the true faith, it would face times of great suffering. The message warned of wars, destruction, natural disasters, and a famine that would spread across various parts of the world. The scenario described was not just a distant threat, but a warning about events that were already underway. The world was on the verge of a purification, and this purification would come through human suffering itself. Pope Francis emphasized that the revelation of Fatima was not given to generate fear, but to awaken consciences. The time of indifference was over. Our Lady gave a warning. If humanity persisted in ignoring God's commandments, it would suffer the consequences of its own rebellion. The message was not a condemnation, but a final call to conversion. In the face of this revelation, many wondered if there was still time to avoid the worst. Pope Francis made it clear that the answer depends on humanity. Destiny is not yet completely set, but with each passing day, the choice becomes more difficult. Conversion must be immediate. The call to prayer, sacrifice, and a return to faith can no longer be ignored. The revelation of the true third secret of Fatima did not end the mystery, but brought to light a greater challenge. Now that the truth has been revealed, what will each person do with this information? What remains for those who still believe? The answer lies in the actions that follow. The warning was given. The future depends on the choices that are made from now on. What was revealed by Pope Francis left no more room for doubt. The true third secret of Fatima was not just an allegorical vision or a vague premonition about past events. It brought a direct warning, a clear warning about something that was already happening and that, if it were not stopped, it would lead humanity to an unprecedented physical collapse. The original document written by Sister Lucia contained precise words that were kept hidden for more than a century. The part that had never been released before spoke of a period of darkness within the Church itself. A profound spiritual crisis that would begin in the highest echelons of the clergy and would spread like a disease. Our Lady warned that many religious leaders would stray from the true doctrine and begin to preach a distorted gospel, where the teachings of Christ would be modified to suit the interests of the world. Error would infiltrate the pulpits, confusing the faithful, weakening the faith, and spreading apostasy. At a level never seen before, confusion would take over the churches, and many believers would no longer know who to trust. But the secret did not speak only of the church. It brought a broader warning that involved all of humanity. If conversion did not occur, if people continued to ignore God and live under the illusion of freedom without morality, terrible events would begin to happen. The text described wars of devastating proportions, natural disasters on a global scale, and a famine that would devastate countless nations. There was still a passage that stood out for its disturbing impact. Our Lady would have shown the children a great light in the sky, a flash so intense that it would temporarily blind those who witnessed it, followed by a bang, something that would shake the earth and make people run in despair without understanding what was happening. Some interpreted this description as the prediction of a great cosmic event, perhaps an astronomical impact, an explosion of catastrophic magnitude. Others believe that it is an event caused by man himself, a nuclear conflict that could destroy entire nations in a matter of minutes. The secret revealed by Pope Francis reinforced something that many already feared. The signs of this prophecy are already happening. The world is immersed in increasingly intense crises, and society seems increasingly distant from the spiritual values that could prevent the worst. Time is running out, and Our Lady made it clear that if humanity does not return to God, suffering will be inevitable. However, despite the warnings, the message of Fatima also contained a path of hope. The secret was not only a warning about misfortunes and destruction, but also guidance on how to avoid the worst. Our Lady gave humanity one last opportunity for conversion, a last call to change paths before it was too late. The question that now echoes in the hearts of all who become aware of this revelation is simple but terrifying. Is there still time? Or have we already passed the point of no return? The fate of the world remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the final choice is in the hands of humanity, and that choice needs to be made now. The revelation of the true third secret of Fatima made it clear that humanity finds itself at a decisive crossroads. The warnings contained in the message were neither symbolic nor generic. They spoke directly of our time, of events that are already underway, and of others that may be about to happen. Our Lady warned that if humanity did not convert and return to God, the world would go through a series of trials that would bring suffering on a scale never seen before. Among the main warnings were armed conflicts of vast proportions and a spiritual crisis that would lead millions to lose their faith. The text spoke of a total war, where the most lethal weapons of humanity would be used. The text mentioned that if the world persisted in error, the use of fire and smoke would take over large cities, leading to suffering that would echo for generations. Another critical point of the revelation was related to devastating natural events. Our Lady would have shown the children a future where earthquakes, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions would occur with a frequency and intensity never seen before. The climate would become unpredictable, and entire regions would be devastated by successive catastrophes. There would also be periods of drought and famine, hitting countries that had never faced such difficulties. The text warned that all this would not be just a consequence of natural phenomena, but a direct reflection of moral corruption and the rejection of faith. But the most alarming warning of the third secret concerned the current spiritual condition of humanity. Our Lady showed that a time would come when confusion would take over minds and hearts. The true faith would be attacked from the inside out, and many who should protect it would end up becoming agents of their own destruction. It would be a period of deception and manipulation, where right and wrong would be distorted, and morality would become relative. The prophecy warned that humanity would reach a point where it would live as if God did not exist, creating its own laws guided only by desire and the search for immediate pleasure. But this path would have a price: the loss of the meaning of life, unbridled violence, and increased despair would be inevitable consequences of this separation from God. In the face of so many warnings, the message of Fatima could seem like an announcement of condemnation. But this was not the true purpose of revelation. The objective of the Virgin Mary was always to warn and give humanity a chance to avoid the worst. Our Lady made it clear that despite everything that was predicted, there was still hope. The fate of the world was not sealed. There was still a chance for redemption, but this redemption would require real change. Our Lady did not ask for great revolutions or impossible gestures. The path to avoid the worst was within everyone's reach. But will humanity be willing to listen? The time to choose is running out, and each decision can now define the future that will come. The third secret of Fatima was not just a revelation of impending tragedies, but a final warning, a direct call to humanity, a last chance to avoid the worst. Our Lady made it clear that the events described could be avoided, but only if humanity took a new direction. The world is on the brink of a transformation that could be irreversible. Wars, natural disasters, and an unprecedented spiritual crisis are already happening before our eyes. The signs are everywhere, but most people choose to ignore them. However, the secret revealed that the worst can still be avoided, but to do so, we must act now. Our Lady did not only bring warnings, she also brought a path. 3 elements were highlighted as essential to prevent humanity from falling into the abyss: prayer, penance, and true conversion. The first key is prayer. Our Lady specifically asked for the daily recitation of the Rosary, a spiritual weapon against the evil that spreads throughout the world. The Rosary is not just a repetition of words, but a shield of protection, a bridge between earth and heaven. It has the power to transform hearts, protect families, and ward off evil influences that try to weaken faith. The second crucial point is penance. Our Lady asked humanity to accept sacrifice as a means of reparation for the sins of the world. This does not mean seeking suffering, but understanding that each act of renunciation and each difficulty offered to God can change the course of history. The modern world has lost the notion of the value of sacrifice. We live in an era of the incessant search for pleasure and comfort. But we forget that without sacrifice, there is no true transformation. Ultimately, conversion. Humanity needs to turn to God sincerely. It is not just about words or superficial gestures, but about a change of life. The Virgin Mary made it clear that the conversion of the world begins with individual conversion. Each person who decides to return to faith, each soul that decides to abandon sin and seek the truth, contributes to preventing this from happening. However, time is short. The secret of Fatima revealed that humanity is at a critical point. If conversion does not occur now, the events described in the prophecy will become reality. Our heartfelt question becomes inevitable: is there still time? Or has humanity already surpassed the limit of divine mercy? Pope Francis, when revealing the hidden part of the third secret, made an urgent appeal. He made it clear that the choice is in the hands of each one of us. We cannot wait for governments, leaders, or institutions to change the course of history. Change must begin within each heart. Hope still exists. The future is not completely determined, but the time to act is running out. Our Lady left the solution. Now it is up to humanity to decide whether to use it or ignore it. Once again, the words of Fatima were not spoken at random. They echo through the centuries, waiting for an answer. And that answer must be given now. Humanity's clock is approaching its decisive moment. The third secret of Fatima is not just a distant prophecy or a vague warning about the future. It is a direct call, an urgent demand for those who still have ears to hear. The world is on the brink of irreversible change. The only way to prevent the worst-case scenarios from coming true is to act immediately. But as Our Lady left clear instructions, she not only warned about the consequences of turning away from God, but also revealed what each one of us can do to change the destiny that is being drawn. The path is not complex, but it requires commitment and action. The first step is daily prayer. Our Lady insistently asked us to recite the Rosary every day. But this does not mean just repeating words mechanically. The Rosary is a spiritual weapon, a means of strengthening faith and creating a barrier against the forces that try to separate humanity from God. In times of confusion and despair, prayer becomes the only anchor capable of keeping the soul firm. The second step is penance and sacrifice. The modern world rejects the idea of sacrifice. We live in an era of comfort and immediate pleasure, where everything is focused on satisfying personal desires. But Our Lady made it clear, without sacrifice, there is no redemption. Penance does not mean seeking suffering, but humbly accepting life's difficulties and offering them to God. Small acts of renunciation, such as resisting daily temptations, forgiving those who hurt us, and helping those in need, have a much greater impact than one can imagine. The third step is consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Our Lady asked people to surrender themselves entirely to God through her intercession. This consecration is not a simple act, but a real commitment to live according to faith, seeking the truth and rejecting everything that leads to error. Beyond these three fundamental actions, Our Lady made a direct warning about the state of the world. Society has completely moved away from divine teachings, and sin has been normalized. Essential values have been distorted, and many people live as if God did not exist. The prophecy of Fatima leaves no doubt. If this path continues, humanity will face times of great suffering. But there is still hope. Pope Francis, when revealing the hidden part of the third secret, emphasized the urgency of conversion. He warned that the crisis within the Church is already happening, and that the departure from faith has direct consequences in the life of each individual and in society as a whole. There is no more time for indifference. Each person needs to make their choice. The question that remains now is, who will listen to this call? Who will have the courage to act before it is too late? Our Lady gave all the instructions. The key to avoid the worst is in the hands of humanity. But does humanity still want to use it? The fate of the world is being decided now, and each of us has a role in this decisive moment. What will you choose? The third secret of Fatima was not a revelation for the past. It is a living prophecy, pulsating in the present, echoing in every event that unfolds before our eyes. The warnings given by Our Lady were not empty words. They were a final warning. A last chance for humanity to choose between two paths: a return to faith or inevitable destruction. Now that everything has been revealed, the question that remains is, can humanity still change its destiny? Or have we already passed the point of no return? The message of Fatima makes it clear that God, in His mercy, always gives humanity the opportunity to convert. But it also makes it clear that this chance does not last forever. There is a limit. There comes a time when the consequences become irreversible. We are close to that time. The signs suggest that we are. Our Lady did not speak to cause fear, but to awaken consciences. She knew that the world would reach a point where people would live as if God did not exist. Sin would be normalized, and fundamental values would be distorted. That time has come. The drift away from faith is already underway. The spiritual crisis is evident. The world has embraced indifference. It has rejected the truth, and has transformed right and wrong into mere opinions. Pope Francis, in revealing the hidden part of the third secret, made an appeal. He emphasized that the prophecy of Fatima was not an inevitable announcement of destruction, but a call for change. Our Lady gave humanity a choice. But this choice needs to be made now. What can each person do in the face of this revelation? Our Lady has already answered. Pray daily. Offer sacrifices. Seek true conversion, and do not be deceived by false doctrines. These are not generic recommendations, but direct orders for those who want to avoid the worst. The fate of the world is not sealed, but is being decided at this very moment. The war between good and evil has never been so visible. Every choice we make, every act of faith or indifference, weighs on this scale. The third secret of Fatima was not a legend or a superstition. It was a revelation that took more than 100 years to be fully disclosed. Now that everything has been said, there is only one question left. What will you do with this truth? The time to decide is running out. Our Lady has shown us the way, but it is up to us to decide whether we will follow it or ignore it, because destiny is now in our hands.